Yeah. Okay, there you go.
All right. It seems like only one person can record now at a time. Welcome, everybody. I am Therese Bimker. I'm your Zoom host, and I'll be turning this over now to Cornelia. Cornelia, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Thank you, Therese, and welcome to everybody. My name is Cornelia, and I'm on the Council of the Holistic Health Community. And if some of you are new to our organization, I just wanted to take a few minutes to tell you about who we are. We are a nonprofit corporation dedicated to bringing holistic healthcare as well as holistic education to our community and beyond our community. So we've been in existence since 2012, and for our first 9 years, we offered holistic health sessions once a month at the local community center. And we also offered what we call self-care classes at the community center and special events and film screenings at the Rosendale Theater, all related to well-being and holistic healthcare. So when COVID happened, we actually expanded our program by beginning to spend one whole week every month offering virtual healthcare. And now we've resumed our in-person healthcare days and continued the virtual ones. So we are doing more than we ever did before. And we're also in touch with people in other states, both clients and practitioners. So it's been exciting to see how things changed in a positive way, as well as the issues of COVID. So all of the things that we offer to you and to the community, we offer through what we call the economics of generosity. So though we don't charge for sessions or for classes, we ask our clients to either give a donation to help us pay for our services, or to pay it forward, paying it forward by doing service in the community or by doing something loving and kind to someone in need. So if you are interested in making an exchange for tonight's program, you can go to our website, which I put on the chat screen, which is holistichealthcommunity.org. And on the homepage, there's a link for donations, but there's also a link for our very first annual auction, which we are currently organizing. It'll go online on December 1st, but at the moment we're collecting donations for the auction. So if you would like to help us, we would be delighted to have you do that. And there's a link that you can click on the homepage, as I said before. So in addition to all the things we've been doing for 10 or more years, we're also beginning to a large outreach program to underserved communities that are nearby. And we're also planning to buy land and create a holistic campus in our community. So we need your help for all of that. And we appreciate your being here tonight. And thank you. So I'm going to turn it over to Larry Brown to introduce our speakers tonight.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us. This is very exciting for me. I've done many sessions at the Lightfield and know how powerful that technology is for helping us to ground into a coherent field and an expanded state of consciousness. And I would say, and I'm sure most people here would truly understand, that the times that we're in require us to move into an expanded state of consciousness, of peaceful co-creation and peaceful collaboration together. So let me take a minute and introduce our speakers tonight. Ross Newkirk worked alongside his father, Mark Newkirk, who was a dear friend of the holistic health community and has passed on. Ross worked with his father on numerous projects, including the Lightfield Technology. He also helped run the Lightfield Operator Training Program for many years. Today, Ross sits on the board of Lightfield and is a big proponent of its mission. In 2019, Ross formed Conscious Technologies LLC, which is solely focused on bringing cutting-edge technologies like the core harmonizer, the quantum flow, coherent meditation mat, and EMF harmonizing technologies into the world. He's a third-generation inventor. His grandfather, his father, and himself, and their son Owen seems to be imbued with that spirit as well. So Marika has been an administrator and a strong proponent of the Lightfield Foundation for over 10 years. She started out as a volunteer operator and then took over scheduling. After the first 2 years, she became part of the Lightfield team to train operators and eventually become the operator coordinator. She stewarded the entire project for 2 years, from 2015 to 2016. In 2017, Marika left Lightfield and began her own holistic healing practice, though she still stayed involved in Lightfield's progress, especially helping out with community events. In the last 2 years, she rejoined Lightfield after Mark Newkirk's passing. Marika brings knowledge, enthusiasm, and love to the Lightfield, and it's one of her greatest joys, and she loves to share information about it with others. So I'm going to hand this off to first to Marika and then to Ross.
Please unmute yourself, Marika.
Okay, now can you hear me okay? Okay, well, first of all, I just wanted to thank all of you for inviting us here, because we, like Larry said, we've been connected for a long time, it feels like. And I just so enjoy everything, our relationship with this. In the beginning, Larry and Rob and other people would just send, and Cornelia too, send clients over here, and it was really helpful. I think, up until the time of from 2012, when you opened, to 2016, there were probably over 100 people that came from your area. And I just wanted to say thank you for those people that participated and came over to try it. And I just love what you do in the community. I think you guys are really great path cutters and way showers. And the work that you're doing, and the 20 or 22-minute documentary that you have is so beautiful and so heartfelt. It feels like you guys are having fun over there and doing good work in the world. And so I just wanted to say thank you for that. And I also want to thank any and all of you who joined in the loving intentions that were sent to my partner, Eddie Harada, who passed away just a little more than a week ago. And you sent it to him, and he had such a wonderful passing. He consciously chose to go once he realized what was going on. And it was so beautiful to watch him and to see what he was going through, because he was so, in those last few days, so animated and so excited and moving his arms. And it was like he was talking to somebody and seeing things that were just amazing to him. And so I knew when he went, he was being prepared to go to someplace that was really exciting for him. So I said, don't stay here for me. This is your time. Choose. I think if I were you, I would choose to go, but it's up to you. You have to decide. And so he thought about it a minute, then he looked me in the eye and he said, okay, I'm going to go. And a half hour later, he passed. And so while I'm really sad and miss him, because we were together 35 years, I'm really happy and I'm really excited and extremely grateful how peaceful and beautiful his passing was. Is like, I couldn't have orchestrated it or ordered it any better than the universe did. So I just wanted to say thank you for that. So let's see, are we going to, I'm forget
Yeah.
where the questions now.
Forrest, did you want to add anything in terms of your own biography or as part of the introduction? Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I'm so grateful to be here. And we've been so grateful to have known, all the Hudson Valley group for so long here. And my father had a lot of great times up there. And just the meetups and gatherings that we've done over the years have been wonderful, and wonderful to see so many conscious people just really focused on doing good in the world and raising their consciousness. So it's really a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Wonderful. So maybe this is a perfect segue, Ross, since you're on speaker view here. Do you want to begin by telling us a little bit about the purpose of the Lightfield and its meaning, the meaning of the technology? What does this technology bring to the world?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So the Lightfield technology was really created for the sole purpose of raising consciousness. My father, Mark Newkirk, who was the main driving force behind the Lightfield, which I worked on with him hand in hand, side by side for a year and 2 months. His whole purpose was to raise consciousness. He had a business, a materials engineer business that ended up he devoted a lot of his life to, and ended up having 500 employees, and that ended up going under due to some big global shifts in the world, where they did away with research and development teams, and his technology was phenomenal there. And then the passing of my brother, unexpected passing of him when we were little. And so my father really decided he wanted to focus on raising consciousness. And so he spent years, I think it was like 4 years, just reading, studying, listening, growing his own awareness. And like Larry said, you know, he was an inventor, and had over 900, his name on over 900 foreign patents and 100 US patents. And so he had a very creative mind. And so we were actually given through downloads, through information that came through synchronicity, the information to build a piece of technology before the Lightfield called Flow. And we ended up commercializing that and getting, I think there was 19 units out in the world, including one at Penn State University up in Canada, and all around the world. And out of that ultimately became the Lightfield. And the technology is really stunning in that it was designed actually as a set of training wheels to help re-empower people, because the most amazing piece of technology actually exists in each one of us. And we were able to use light, sacred nested geometries, and music to create a very coherent space. And we'll talk about that a little more, but that's the gist of the technology and what it was designed to do. Because within each one of us, we have amazing self-healing capabilities, intuitive capabilities, and perceptive capabilities, and they're all latent. And when we're able to tap into higher levels of awareness and consciousness, you can actually activate these and bring these through. So that's why it was created.
Wonderful. Marika, perhaps, do you have anything to add? And then perhaps we'll go to the slideshow.
Okay. Yes, I do. From my point of view, what is really exciting about it, I think, is that it gives you a chance to use the God-given abilities that you have to be a creator. And because we're all children of the creator, we have creative abilities that we don't even realize that we have. And I love what, there's a person up in your area, her name is Darlene Vandegrift. And she always says, you know more than you know. And it's true, because, you know, when we use our imagination, when we always suggest to people when they come to Lightfield that they launch intentions. In other words, would you like to have a chance to explore how you can use your own creative abilities inside of you to manifest something that you would love to experience in your life? And so when you use your imagination, you have to know that it's one of the most important creative tools that you have been given by the creator to use. And so if you can visualize inside of yourself what it is that you want to have manifested in your life, and you can see that out there, and then you bring that visualization down into your heart area and you open your heart as wide as you can. When you open your heart and you have that visualization open, that's what creates a coherent field that we talk about. So that's an organized field of energy that it helps you open up to explore what it's like to be a creator. And so in hospitals now, they have a technology called a magnetocardiogram that measures the resonance around your heart. And it's 60 times magnetically stronger around your heart than it is in your head. So your heart's a really important part. And so when you have an intention, you want to feel what it's going to feel like when you manifest whatever it is that you want in there, and hold that in your heart and feel that true love inside of yourself. So it would want to be something like passion that you have for life, or what makes your heart sing. And when you open up to do that, that's what begins to start that creation process. And so if you have that, whatever it is that you want to manifest, and you think, well, I'll just imagine I'm putting it on the palm of my hand, and then I can just go and lightly let you use your inspiration, your own breath, to breathe it into existence. That's how you want to let it go. It's not like something that you have to do like a mantra and repeat it over and over. You should do it once, and you do it lightly, and you send it off into the universe, and it will ride on that universal principle of what you put out comes back to you. And so the Lightfield is a great place as training wheels, as Mark said, to try that out, to try out your own creative abilities and come and use that in here and see what happens for you, because it's really exciting. And I think, all of us these days are hearing about med beds maybe coming online. And I think med beds are really exciting too, but I like the conscious part of using our own conscious awareness and that resonance around our heart to create that coherent field to create with too. And so I like our technology. I hope that maybe they can ride side by side, or maybe the conscious technology can be included, because I haven't heard that it will be, and I've not been in one, so I don't know, but I would love to see that component in there. So that's what I would have to say, that, that's what Lightfield is for. It's like, come practice who you are, get to know yourself as a creator, that you'll really love it.
It's beautiful. Yeah,
Thank you.
Marika.
Great. Yeah, let me pass it back to you, Ross, and maybe you want to
Okay.
screen share.
Okay, sure. I just wanted to comment on that too. I think that was beautiful, Marika. I think more and more people at this time are moving out of the headspace, and I think this whole closing down of society has really activated a considerable number of people to focus on what their heart's desire is, rather than what they think they have to do or should be doing, but really like, what do they want to do? And I think as we move into that heart space that Marika was talking about, you actually end up activating a new toolkit that you can't actually see and don't even know exists when you're doing something out of obligation. And so this element of inspiration, that is found, that can be felt, in these coherent fields. It can be felt in nature. Nature is a very coherent field. When you're out in the forest, you're surrounded by a beautiful information field, especially if you take off your shoes and you're grounding out there and you're just connected to that earth energy. But when you start to follow that heart space, you start to tap into this toolbox where all of a sudden new ideas, synchronicities, inspiration starts to come, to you that otherwise is actually not available. And so, I certainly have been in a place of doing things out of obligation and feeling like, it's the only way. But when you have the courage to step outside of that, and I think more and more people are doing that, in society right now, they find that it's not a cliff. There's actually a stepping stone that they can step out on. And then after that, even though you might not see the next step, you follow that inspiration and it'll lead you to the next step. And before you know it, you start following, your heart's path. And I think that's so important to do. So I will go ahead and do a screen share here. I wanted to just show a couple slides on the Lightfield and also the technology here. So I will just okay. Let's see here. Okay, so Lightfield is actually created under this new non-physical field of science. So there's, most of us have heard of an electric field, a magnetic field, and a gravitational field. There's a strong nuclear attraction field and a weak nuclear attraction field, but there's also something called an information field or torsion field. And it's basically a thought field. And the former Soviet Union ended up spending $500 million studying information fields. So it's a very real thing. And my father ended up teaming up with one of these world-class scientists, probably the most well-known one that had studied these information fields. And his name was Akimov, and he helped my father understand this idea of an information field and introduced it to him. And after that, my father received a lot of information on that and studied up on it, and that ended up resulting in these technologies. So what is an information field? An information field is not actually affected by distance, and it has no speed limitation. And an example of that would be a remote healer. A remote healer is not blocked by sending, love and coherence to a client, 100 miles away or, 2,000 miles away. And that thought, that level of coherence that healer sends someone is also instantaneous. And so it can't, the distance thing can't be blocked by, lead. It can't be blocked by a brick wall. It can't be blocked by anything. So these are thought fields, really. And some of the information field characteristics is like attracts like. And so at lower levels of consciousness, opposites attract. But as we start to raise our vibration, like attracts like. And information fields can actually condition space. So you can be out, you could show up at someone's house and you can feel the vibe of someone's house. That's conditioned space. It could feel very good, or maybe there's something that feels off there, but that's conditioned space. And if there is a space that actually doesn't feel good, you can actually change that, because higher ideas actually win the right of way in consciousness. And so you can actually recondition that space to be coherent and harmonious, and you can release, anything in that space that needs to be released. My father used to say one of the most profound discoveries in science is that thought creates a field. So information fields are ideas created by individual and collective consciousness. So when I say the higher ideas win the right of way, at lower levels of consciousness where we feel like we're separate and alone, your experience often is dictated by the collective consciousness. And so, people say, like, if you go outside in the winter, without a coat on, you're gonna, catch a cold or whatever. Those kind of lower ideas, if we're not aware and we're bumping along, we will experience that. But as we all start to raise our vibration, you realize that you don't have to be hindered and held back by these limiting ideas. So if it's a limiting idea that's suppressing you, that's imposing itself upon you that is not coherent and harmonious. And we know that through vibration, what feels right. If it feels like, oh, this doesn't feel good, that's a lower vibrational idea. And you can actually rise above that. And people do that all the time with healing, where there can be something that seems incurable. And as someone rises their level of coherence and vibration, or works with a practitioner that has that understanding, or enters into a coherent field, that starts to release. And I have an example of this in my own life that happened not too long ago. My wife was traveling. She was in upstate New York, and I had a lot of work to do, so I stayed home. And I woke up about 2 a.m. and I was just itching. And I go and I use the restroom. And as I'm washing my hands, I look in the mirror, and my whole neck, my arms, my sides were just covered in hives. I've never experienced that in my life. And it looked very concerning. And so I called my wife, but it was 2 a.m. and she didn't have her phone on. And the message that I got was, go into the living room. And so I go into the living room and I sit down, and the message was, fill your thought with gratitude. And so I just sat there and I just thought about things to be grateful for. And a lot of it had to do with my dad. He had, passed on a couple of years ago. And I just started to feel so grateful and just so much gratitude. Had a glass of water there, and I was drinking water as I was feeling grateful. And my dog was curled on the floor next to me, and there was a core harmonizer, one of our technologies, playing next to me too. And I just felt the sense of gratitude, so much so that there was actually tears of gratitude that just started to stream down my face. And after an hour and a half or so, I got up to use the restroom again, because I was drinking a lot of water. And as I was washing my hands, I just glanced into the mirror, not to try to monitor anything. And I realized that all the hives, all the itching, the scratch marks, the redness, the puffing, everything was gone. It just faded away into its native nothingness. And I didn't rub any creams on myself. I didn't go see a practitioner. I didn't have, a session with anyone. And here, all I did was fill my thought with gratitude, and the rest was released. And it was so beautiful. So beautiful, in fact, that even if I saw the redness or the lines, it actually didn't even matter to me, because my resonance was so caught up in gratitude. And so this is an idea of rising above the collective consciousness, where you don't actually have to do anything. A lot of times it's just entering into a different state of awareness and consciousness. So some of the ideas which create surrounding information field influence are geometries, rotation, vibration, magnetic field variation, and electric field variation. And in our technology, the Lightfield, we use light, we use music, and we use nested sacred geometries. Here's an example of one of the information field generators that Akimov had shared with my father, which then in turn we made information field generators ourselves. And so this is what an information field generator looks like here. So the output of an information field generator can be projected within an area of space. And so just like a remote healer can project his coherence and love, across any distance, you can do this with an information field generator. Individuals surrounded by a coherent information begin to connect to higher levels of awareness. And this is important to know, because a lot of times when we feel separate and alone, we're acting in one level of awareness and coherence, but actually we're multi-dimensional beings. So we're having lots of different experiences all over the place. And we have this compass needle that if we are able to tap into higher levels of awareness, it knows exactly what we need on a spiritual, metaphysical level, and can guide and direct us. And so that's where intuition comes in. And if we're able to get out of our own way, because I know I spent a lot of time trying over the years, trying to connect to higher levels of awareness, but it actually is simpler than that. It's literally stilling the thought and letting go and releasing. And the Lightfield technology actually enables someone to more readily do that without having to work at it. It creates a very coherent, harmonious environment. And when you're in that, you actually start to form bridges to higher levels of awareness and consciousness when you're in that. And that can happen when you're asleep or awake in the unit. So I wanted to show you some pictures of this light field. So this is the light field unit here. And you can see it's a giant sphere, and this end here actually closes up, and the individual walks up these stairs and lies here on this mattress. And you're actually inside a whole bunch of sacred geometries. You end up being in a star tetrahedron. You end up being in a cube, in a sphere. And this console over here has information field generators in it. And we're taking information from both light and music and putting it into this environment. There's no subliminal messages. And because it's a coherent environment and you're connecting yourself to your higher levels of awareness, you would actually never do anything to harm yourself. So there's no negative side effects because your higher self would never do anything to harm you. So what we're doing is we're providing the environment, and the individual is the one that forms the connection. And this technology, as we talked about, was designed as a set of training wheels to enable someone to do this. So ultimately, you do not need a light field unit, and you realize that you are, in fact, a light field unit. So here is someone lying down here, and this is the individual in the unit here. And it's very open feeling in here as well. So I think we've done, it was a couple of years ago, but I think it was like 15 to 17,000 sessions have gone through the light field since it opened. Also in the light field, we have a piece of technology called Grace. And Grace is next to the light field. And the light field actually is the driver for Grace. So when someone is in Grace, the light field unit can be going. And this helps align one's chakras. And the light field is located up in the beautiful Berkshires in Western Massachusetts. It's right on a river and right next door to it. And I think it was guided there, as well, just the representation of the flow of the water that goes by and the added coherence that the light field gives to the water. So that is the slideshow here. So I'm sure Marika has some things to add to that.
Okay, yeah, what I love about it is that when you lay down in the light field, if you've ever tried to meditate and had a hard time, you wouldn't in light field, because light field just lets you go into a state of meditation. It's effortless, it's easy, it's like somebody else is doing it for you. You can just relax, and it's a beautiful feeling to be in. And it just lets you get so quiet inside. And when you can get that quiet inside, that's where the magic starts to happen, because all of us are trying to get to that place of silence. So maybe we can hear inside of ourselves, what is it that we really want? Because we're so busy with the outside chatter and the inside chatter sometimes that it's just so relaxing to get to that place of inner peace inside of you. And that's when you can decide, what do I really want to manifest now? And that from that quiet place, you become like an artist with a blank canvas. And the light field is, like Ross was saying, it's providing you all the energy that you need to create a masterpiece. And so if you think of an artist having a blank canvas, just because they have a blank canvas doesn't mean they're going to have a masterpiece. But most artists, when they do have a masterpiece, it's because they're tuned in to who they are on that other dimensions, or, you know, just their higher self, and they get information about it and they get inspired. And so when you think about it and you're doing your manifestations, or you want to launch your intentions inside of there, it's like you're an artist. And when you tap into that other energy, you're creating the brush strokes, but that connection into the higher awareness part, that's what makes the masterpiece. So it isn't, Lightfield gives the same energy to everyone, but it's you and your connection to your higher awareness, your higher self, that makes the magic in there. So it's really you that makes all the difference there. It isn't Lightfield that's doing it for you. It's you are doing it with the energy that Lightfield provides you. So I think that's the thing that I love the best about it, that you can do that. And, you know, it can be anything that you want: mental, emotional, spiritual. It could be an experience you want, a feeling that you want, a relationship that you want. It can be anything that you want to have as a manifestation. So I like to look at it as a playground for, you know, coming up with whatever it is that you'd like to have in your life. So that was my add-on.
That's great.
Are Lightfield and Grace something you need to continue to do often?
Well, I would say what we tell people when they come here is check in with yourself, you know, check in with your higher awareness. What does it feel like is next for you? We don't recommend that a person ever do more than one a day, but, you know, some people like to come, you know, 2 or 3 times a week, but you also have to, you know, tune into, sometimes you're doing a little processing in between too. Do you need a rest in between? But it's all up to you to decide what pace that you want to go at, how often you want to come. And how often, you know, that some people have come to Lightfield and they'll come 2 or 3 times. Some people come 15 times. Some people come hundreds of times. So it's all up to you. You can make a plan yourself, you know, and just by checking in. And that's what works for people. Everybody's different. We're all designed differently. And that's the beauty of it, you know, that we always want people to stay with that free will, free choice kind of thing. So did you have anything to add, Ross?
Yeah, you know, I think we've spent, you know, a lifetime accumulating and creating this idea of identity. And sometimes, you know, it can take a little while to be able to process some of the information that we get, you know, when we're in a coherent field. And so, you know, it can take, you know, people sometimes, you know, a couple weeks or a month or whatever they're working on to deal with something, you know, pretty big. You know, we've had people, you know, come in and they have end up having a life-changing experience for them, and then you don't see them for a while. And it's not because they didn't, you know, they didn't change their mind. You know, it's because you can only process sometimes so much so fast. But yeah, it really varies from person to person, and you know, I think you know, it's all it ends up being all perfect, you know, definitely.
Wonderful. Perhaps you can tell us a little bit about some of the new upgrades you installed in August of this year, and how does that help people?
The upgrade that we installed actually allows people, you know, it was very important, especially at this time in humanity. It allows people to process more information, more stuff, more easily. And so you can actually advance along your path faster and more readily, and it provides an increased coherence and balance and additional grounding, you know, as well. So yeah, it's just, I love this idea. Marika and I were talking about it the other day, how there's the first time someone broke the 4-minute mile, no one in history, until the first person, broke it, it was this huge, huge undertaking. Everyone tried to, beat the 4-minute mile. And then as soon as that one person broke it, all of a sudden people that didn't even hear that it was broken were starting to break it. And I think that, applies with consciousness as well. As we all advance, we're pulling each other up and helping each other. And we start to realize, that we are all connected. We're not separate and alone. We all have tremendous, support, guides and angels, divine love, just all around us. And as we, start to recognize that, and even, when we're going through challenges, sometimes I stop and I just think about, how somewhere around the world there are thousands of people praying for me, and they don't even know me, and that's the beautiful thing, is it's this unconditional love. And it's like this Akashic healing, bank that is available to all of us. And I think, and it's meant to be tapped into. It wants to be tapped into. It's a non-judgmental, full of love and light. And it's just, it's available to all of us. And one of the things about, as we realize how connected we are, I remember my dad, had a beautiful experience of this, where there was a fly that was on a table or something. And he held out his hand and he communicated with this fly, and it flew over and landed on his hand. And, what he told me was, he said, the way you communicate with other life forms, that humans tend to judge as not as intelligent, is you can't apply that thought to that animal or that being or that creation and have that experience. You have to realize that there's infinite intelligence, and it has nothing to do with the size of, an animal's or insect's brain or anything like that. We're all interconnected. And so you can communicate, with each other, your cells, in your whole being, your body, through consciousness, and talk to yourself. And you can, there's a lot of talk on putting the positive affirmations up on your bathroom mirror or your refrigerator. But those on themselves don't do anything. But your thought, is what makes those words powerful. And so, yeah, I mean, you start to realize like how connected we are. And when we do that, we realize how much support we all have.
Thank you, Ross. Marika, would you like to add something? You have to unmute, please.
Okay. Yes. What I have noticed since the upgrade came in, and some of the first people that went through had said too, is like, there's some way that you can feel things more in your body. It's like, I feel more, well, I often feel goosebumps. Ross likes to call them truth bumps, but you know what I mean? It's, you can feel things in your body at a different level. And it really is amazing to feel. I just love going in there. It's like, a treat to go in there, and it's fun because you get to play, you get to explore, you get to discover who you are. And some people even have, visions when they're in there, or they have all kinds of creative ideas that are coming up. And so it's just a beautiful experience to have. And so I would highly recommend that anybody who wants to try either a remote or in-person session. It works just the same way. You don't have to be there in person to feel everything that you could feel inside of it, because we're all connected through all that is.
Perhaps you could speak a little bit more about the remote session. Is there anything you should know before doing either an in-person or a remote session? What do people need to be aware of before they do a session in a Lightfield?
Well, I think the first thing that we tell them before they go in the Lightfield is that you would want to remove any kind of metal or jewelry or watches or cell phones or any of that kind of thing, because not that it would do anything detrimental to you, but it raises the field energy around you to have those removed out of your space. And so that's a good thing to know ahead of time. And it's also good to know that, about just launching the intention. So you want to, either before you come or when you're in there, you want to pay attention to, what is it that would really make your heart sing in your life? What would make life more perfect for you? And just start experiment with what that could be like and feel like, and launching it. And just, again, letting go is just, it's the easiest of things, but it's the hardest of things for people, because they think that they have to work at it. But it's really easier than you think. It's really, you just want to do it in a lighthearted way. And just, like I said, imagine that you're putting it on the palm of your hand and you're just breathing it into existence, and don't hold any expectations for what's going to happen. Because often, we as human beings, we've grown up watching TV, and it starts out with a conflict, and then, it resolves in a half hour. And so we think when we go in Lightfield, it should do that too. But that's not really how life works. You have to let it go, and it will come back in its own time. And you just trust and have faith in yourself and in your creative abilities, and the creator and your ability to work together. So I would say that, that's some things that you would like to know ahead of time. And Ross, do you have anything to add to?
No, I think that's beautiful, Marika. Yeah.
And anything about remote sessions, or how those work?
Oh yeah, let's tell you about remote sessions. So what we have people do when they do remote sessions is we have them send in, we suggest they send in 3 things. A selfie photo of themselves, just the shoulders and the head, because that's unique to only you. Your birth date, and then your signature. So those are 3 things that are only individual to you. And when we put one photo, signature, and birth date in the Lightfield, and we put another one on Grace. And so when you do a remote session, you're doing both of those technologies simultaneously. And because that information field is, it picks up the resonance of who you are from those 3 things that we put in each of those, it will send that energy directly to you. It won't go to anyone else. It knows how to do it. It's an intelligent field of light. And so it just sends it to you. So at home, what you want to do is you want to find a quiet place to be where you're not going to be disturbed by anything around. You want to have a blanket by you so that you can stay warm. Often when you get in these fields, it makes your body feel a little cool. And so you want to have something warm. You want to have water so that you can stay hydrated. And just be really quiet. Maybe turn your phone off on either airplane mode or do not disturb or something like that. So an operator in this instance will call you on the phone, and then she'll ask, or he'll ask, do you have any questions before you start? And you can ask any kind of questions, because we build a little time into each session. Is 75 minutes long, but you're really only, like if you're doing a remote session or here at Lightfield, you're spending about 50 minutes in session time. But we leave a little time because sometimes people come in and they like to connect. We're about community as much as you guys are about community. So we want to leave time for people to talk. And we have volunteer operators who are great, and they love this technology, and they love talking to people, and they can help answer questions and just make them feel at home. So after you start a remote session, we just call you, ask if you have questions, and then we hang up the phone. And at home, you can play any kind of music that you like that's meditative. And most of the time, you don't want to have like songs or words in it. You just want to have, music that is soothing and quiet kind of. And you can listen to that. And then at the end of the session, the operator will call you back and just let you know that the session has ended. And if you choose not to answer the phone, it's okay. They'll just leave a voicemail for you that it ended, so that you'll just know that it did. And a lot of people like to stay quiet in that field, and other people will answer at the phone, and maybe they will have additional questions. So there's another opportunity for interaction there.
Yeah, I love this idea of remote sessions, because it really demonstrates, information fields so beautifully, that you can literally be across the world, and tuning into the same time, and and actually have an experience in the Lightfield technology. And we've had numerous people say they knew exactly when the session ended, or when it started, and they could feel it. And they've shared, how they felt a sense of peace, or they saw colors, or they felt tingling in their body, all that kind of stuff. And it's just, it's so beautiful. I prefer an in-person session, but I've had some amazing remote sessions as well. And so, yeah, it's great that we can make this technology available to anyone in the world, really.
Yeah, I'd like to add one more thing too, is, because people will often ask, well, how does it work, that you can do that? But if you think about it, when you send love to a person, that that love gets there. When you say prayers to people, that the prayers are heard, that that it makes a difference. And people know that when they're parents, that they can feel if their kids are in trouble or having a good time, they just know. And they don't need any wires or anything else connected to them. We're built that way. That's how our senses work. It's the part of our abilities that we don't even think about that we have, that we tap into all the time. And so the fields around Lightfield travel to you on those same kinds of ways that feelings do and intuition does. So that's what I just wanted to add.
Mhm.
Wonderful. So over the time that each of you has spent in the light field, what are some of the interesting or amazing things you've seen happen with clients? What are some of the stories? You've shared some of them already, but yeah.
Well, I can start with one that I thought was really simple and profound. And it was a woman who came in that I would say she was maybe in her mid-20s, and she had a 5-year-old daughter. She was living in an apartment maybe about 20 miles from here, and she had heard about Lightfield and wanted to come and try it. And so we were telling her about intentions, and she got really excited because she was in the apartment. Her daughter didn't have a place to go outside and play, and it was too small. And she was an artist, and she wanted to have a studio and stuff. And so when she came in to do some sessions, she started imagining what she really wanted. And because she loved her little girl so much, she was putting so much heart into it as she went along. And what she really wanted, she was telling me about, was she wanted to get a place that was maybe a duplex. She wanted it to be near a river. She wanted it to have an attic so she could have an art studio. She wanted to have a yard so her daughter would have a place to play and go outside. And after she had done 5 sessions here, and we're not guaranteeing this happens to every person, but I'm just explaining to you, when you really put a lot of love behind what it is that you do, it can make a difference. But after 5 sessions that she had, she was looking around for a place to rent. And she found one, which was actually, it was just a couple of blocks here from Lightfield, and it was next to the river. It was a duplex, and they were renting out one side of it. And he had 80 people apply for it, and he only wanted to talk to her about it. And so she came, and she and her husband liked it, and so they got to rent it. And it had everything that she wanted. And he said, when they were signing the papers, by the way, I'm going to sell this place in maybe next year or so. Would you like to have the first right of refusal? And she was like, oh my God, that was part that she hadn't said. She said, because she had wanted to have an income with it too, so that it would be easier to live and stuff. And so that came with it too. And so I thought that was like an amazing story. But I've seen other people come in and they needed more money in their life, and it would somehow appear. There have been people that have downloaded books and artwork and all kinds of things like that really manifested in their life. People wanted better relationships, and you would see that. And so many things that would just make your heart sing, as well as physical things that people would come in with, something going on. And sometimes in 1 or 2 sessions, it could change. And who knows how that all happens, but it's something that can happen. I mean, one person had a brace on his leg since he was small, and he had 1 session and never needed it again. How did that happen? I don't know. And another person, she'd been through several times, and she had she was scheduled for heart surgery. And when they went in to prep her for surgery, they were checking her and going, wow, you've developed another artery in your heart. And so, there was physical proof of that, but, it's different for every person. And so, like I said, we're not guaranteeing or anything, but there is potential there that you could use to, do anything that you want to in your life. It's really amazing. And I think Ross probably has some other stories too.
Yeah, it varies so much. I mean, sometimes people just feel a greater sense of peace, and you hear them snoring away, and they come out and they're like, oh, that was nice. And then you have, profound things that, people report. And then you have abilities that end up being turned on, that someone doesn't necessarily see right away. I remember hearing one story, and where this person I know pretty well, or very well, I should say, and they were driving in their minivan, and with their whole family in the back. And all of a sudden they had this premonition of this car flying up beside them and cutting over and causing an accident. And so as he was driving this van, here comes this car, and so sure enough, it cut right in front, but he was able to avoid an entire accident and protect his family, because he had this premonition of what, happened. And he said that he felt that ability came forth by, being in the light field. So there are things that are within each one of us that we can end up turning on when we're put ourselves in a coherent field. And you end up bringing this, these awarenesses with you. So it's not something like, oh, I just got, I can only do it in this one space. It's like, no, this is about turning abilities on within each one of us, self-healing abilities, premonitions, intuitive capabilities, all sorts of things. It's just absolutely amazing. I mean, we've had people that, were extremely, had extreme depression, and they would go in and they would come out and they'd find a renewed sense of joy. Or someone had, we've had many people report losing loved ones, including myself, and going into the light field, and forming connections and bridges, with loved ones, from the other side, and communication, and then you end up turning on that ability too, and you can bring that home with you. So it's the amount of things that there was one group of people that came through, and their kids had all sorts of behavioral issues. They were, Marika will remember this one, they're peeing out in the backyard and washing their hands in the water dispenser and throwing stuff. And I think there was 2 operators there, and they were just horrified at the time. The parents went through, and the kids, and then they wanted to come back, later, and the operators were like, oh gosh, I don't know, if we're really set up to handle this. And the people came back, and they were peaceful, and the husband and wife weren't arguing anymore, and the kids were well behaved, and they came a number of times. Is that right, Marika?
Oh, yeah. When they first came, I think they didn't understand how noisy they were, I mean, because you might set down a glass and you would hardly notice it, but when they sat one down, you would really hear it, or they would pick up a book, and we would ask them to whisper, and it was like they didn't even get what we were saying and stuff. But after 5 or 6 sessions, simultaneously, all of them, because there was about 5 or 6 of them that would come all together. They would drive from New York, and you could see progressively each time. It was amazed. And one of the fathers had a son who in his life, he could never sleep well, and he flipped and he flopped and he flipped and he flopped, and his father watched him, I think it was a 2nd or 3rd time in Lightfield, and he really calmed down and he could just rest. And his father came over and cried and said, I can't believe this, that happened. But it was amazing to see with the whole family that they progressively got better as each of them did a little bit more. And I think maybe they came 7 or 8 times altogether, but after that, a lot had calmed down inside of them that behaviorally there was something going on, but it was all starting to calm down, and that was all that was needed. So you just never know what you'll see. And that's one of the reasons I love being here, because it's just so exciting to see the changes in people, and what your conscious awareness can help with is like, oh my God, I think we haven't yet begun to understand the abilities that we carry inside. So that's what I guess keeps me going.
Well, one of the things too that some people, could, potentially feel, intimidated, by like, well, I don't know if I'm ready to go there, but, or have that experience that, they may have heard of. But the beautiful thing about a intelligent information field is, and because you're the one doing it to yourself, we're just providing the environment. This isn't healing technology, it's literally, we're providing a coherent space, is that the technology will help you meet you where you are. And so early on in my path, it would meet me where I was, but, I wouldn't want something too out there to occur because I wasn't ready. And but as you grow, the opportunities, open up as well. So I think that's an important thing to understand. And also, like I said earlier, and I want to stress this point, is you're doing this to yourself. You're forming a bridge between levels of awareness and consciousness. And so you would never do anything to harm yourself, and nor would you want to do something that would be over the top profound for you, because it would actually stunt your spiritual growth, your spiritual evolution. So you wouldn't, do that. So.
Wonderful, thank you. I'm wondering, Larry Brown, you've been to the Lightfield many times. Is there anything you want to share about your own experience there?
I'll just reinforce what both Marika and Ross had said. I mean, I go there and usually I just open myself up. If there's something going on in my life, relationship, family dynamics, things that were happening with work, I would just open it up, set my intention, ask for some guidance or some clarity. And usually I would say 9 out of 10, or maybe 9.5 out of 10, I fell asleep. I don't know if it was actually sleep, but I fell into this place and just let the field and other beings and energies just do what they needed to do. I gave them permission in a safe and loving way. And I noticed at times there were things that shifted, and you can't really quantify it. You can't say what actually caused it, but I think just being in that space. I mean, how often in our lives do we really take the time, unless we have a really serious practice, to go to a place, to release, to just give it up and allow change or transformation that we're ready for to be enhanced and to take place in our lives. And this is one of those places where you let go. You're in this beautiful environment, in this sacred geometry with music playing and people who are holding the space for you. And you just relax into it and you get what you need. As Ross said and Marika, it meets you where you are. And so there's no real danger. There's no threat. It's not you're going to be under some kind of, it's you connecting with this technology that allows your higher self to emerge in a way that you're ready to integrate into your life.
Thank you, Marika. Ross. Before we go to questions, is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think I'm good. How about you, Ross?
Yeah, no, I think I'm good too.
Yeah, we'll have to take your questions. So Larry, are you gonna?
I would add one thing that in the holistic health community, we have a holistic health week, and the Lightfield has been very generous. They have gifted us with, is it 3 sessions, Marika?
Yeah.
So you can sign up for free. You can make a donation if you like for a session at the Lightfield on the holistic healthcare website during our holistic healthcare week, or you could go to the Lightfield's website, right, and sign up for a remote session there as well. So there's lots of opportunities if you want to experience this technology and you don't want to drive to Massachusetts, to do it from the safety and privacy of your own home.
Yeah, the remote ones, we offered 3 remote, but if anyone wants to come from your area, you're about 2 to 2.5 hours from us, you're welcome to come for an in-person, for one of those instead, if you want to do that. So just so you know. Yeah.
Great. So there was a question earlier, I think by Mary Waldner, about like, are these units portable? It seems like you have some technologies that people can purchase or that are portable. Do you want to speak a little bit about that?
Let Ross do that.
Currently, there's only one Lightfield unit in the world, and it's in the Berkshires in Chester, Massachusetts. Also at the Lightfield, we have on loan from Conscious Technologies, which is a business that I formed to bring technologies out into the world. We have a Cohere meditation mat as well, so people can also experience that. And I could show a picture of that if it's helpful.
Sure.
I just do a quick screen share. Okay. So this is our Cohere meditation mat here. And there's a bunch of, there's 96 tiles that have different crystals and minerals in them and shungite and so forth. And then there's a console with nested spinning geometries and light that are then transferred through the wires to the conductive fabric on your hand. So you're getting the information from that. And it's running through glass. So there's no subliminal, messages or anything like that. It's just pure information, geometries. And then your feet are on ground that hooked through the electrical system to earth ground. And then there's 2 speakers under the mat with specific tones. And then you're listening to 432 hertz and 528 hertz music. 432 hertz is about coherence and 528 hertz is the frequency of love. And so we have this now at the Lightfield as well to use. And then we have, so that is portable. We do actually sell those. There's, I think we have 15 now out in the world. It's a little over a year old. And we have some at, there's one in New York City at a float spa. And then we have a portable piece of technology. I think there's now 41 of these out in the world. This was the original one. The new ones have built-in MP3 players, or music players rather, they aren't MP3. But this uses sacred geometries, light and music, and it creates a information field that cascades out of the top. Some people can actually see it, a torsion field, toroidal field that comes out, and it creates coherence in one space. So people will have these in their houses and running them 24 hours a day or a few hours a day. You can meditate in front of them. So we offer those. And then we have, there are now 4 of these units out in the world. We have actually one in our driveway right now in a U-Haul van that's going up to the Natural Awakening?
Natural Living Expo.
Natural Living, thank you. Natural Living Expo this weekend. So we have 2 booths up there. So we're actually setting one of these up there. So you're welcome to come up and try it. We're doing mini 20-minute sessions, and we'll have a mat and core harmonizer. We got a big booth up there. So we're almost in the center of the expo. And so this is our quantum flow unit. And we just finished manufacturing one, and I just picked it up late last night, and we're bringing it to the expo. All these technologies are based in the same paradigm, and are used to create coherence and light in the world and re-empower people.
I would also like to say that during the last 2 weeks of Eddie, well, we didn't know he was going to be passing, but Ross had lent us one of the core harmonizers, and I think that's one of the reasons that it was such a peaceful passing. And maybe that Eddie got to connect into those higher dimensions like he did before he left, is because he was surrounded by that kind of coherent energy, so that he could get the best experience that was possible. And so I was so grateful for Ross lending that to us. And if you ever get to experience one, Ross rents some of those out too, so that you can try them out for a week or a month or something. Ross could tell you more about the renting part, but it was amazing.
I could add a story here. Ross loaned the holistic health community a core harmonizer before we had lockdown, and we had regular once a month healing days. And we had it set up during the whole time that the community center was open, with all the different practitioners and volunteers and clients. And it was a remarkable night. Everybody noticed it, the synchronicities, the people meeting and having these, I've been thinking about you, I've been meaning to call you, I can't believe you're here. The sessions that people had with practitioners. It was probably one of the most remarkable nights that so many people experienced. And the core harmonizer, it was the first time we had it. It was the first time it was running all evening. And it just was, wow. There was something very, very different about that evening that everybody experienced.
It was a beautiful time for sure, definitely. So the Lightfield is a nonprofit that we set up. I think has it been 12 or 14 years ago now, that is behind Marika there in the in the room there. And so that's the Lightfield. She is at the Lightfield, and then and that is open to the public. And then we have Conscious Technologies, which I formed about 2 years ago, and that is bringing forth these other technologies. And but we're totally working together, energetically, and we're all on the same mission. We're all team players, just like all of you guys are too, of just creating, coherence and harmony in the world. And so that's,
you should talk about your Awaken Wholeness Center that you have up in Rhode Island too, because maybe people would like to come up and try a quantum flow session up there too.
That's true. Thank you. So these three technologies, if you want to find out more about, if you go to ConsciousTechnologiesLLC.com, that's where you'd find those, ConsciousTechnologiesLLC.com. And then, as Marika mentioned, my wife runs the Awaken Wholeness Center in Wakefield, Rhode Island, and AwakenWholenessCenter.com. And she has a quantum flow unit there, and there's a Cohere meditation mat and a core harmonizer, and she does intuitive sessions as well. It's a great center, and there's been some awesome sessions there as well. So, there's other locations too. We have one in New York City, and I really should get those up on our website too, all the other locations too. There's one in California, core harmonizer in California. That's open to the public, and so forth. But yeah.
And Ross has a lot of technologies too that you can use with your cell phones that mitigates all that EMF energy, and things for your computers, your laptops, and all different kinds of things. Wearables that you can actually, wear, and it will mitigate or, neutralize all of those EMF fields around you. So it makes it easier for your body to just be here on the earth with all of the stuff that's going on. I mean, you can even be under fluorescent lights and feel that kind of stuff. So you want to have something on your body that will, let you stay in a better balanced place. And that's what Ross is doing with a lot of his technology over there.
And I what I love about all these technologies that have, come through, they've really been, gifts from, all of the collective consciousness, higher dimensional self, higher dimensional beings. And they're really here as tools, because ultimately you are the most amazing, piece of technology, and you can protect yourself from, man-made EMF on your own. You can self-heal on your own without, using traditional practices. There's just this, really the sky is the limit. And I think, that's what this is, here, all these technologies have come forth to, to teach us that we have these abilities within, and that we can grow, and that we all have tremendous amount of purpose, and we're just all truly amazing. And, that's one of the things that my dad really impressed upon me is, he could be talking to, a multimillionaire, or, someone homeless off the streets, and he just saw like the light, that exists within each one of us, and it's truly amazing when they say, that we have enough energy within each one of us to, to power up a whole city. That's not, anything woo woo. That's not, a metaphor. It's a truth. I mean, the amount of ability that exists within each of us is just tremendous, and I think there's a lot of small children at this time that have, are coming into the world to teach us this, and to teach us about, going back to that childlike mind. Because when we go back into this state of childlike mind, you have much more access, because you're not limiting yourselves with the collective ideas. So just in that exploratory mode. So it's an exciting time to be on the planet, and that's why there's 8 billion people here.
Yeah.
They've all showed up for the show. So, we're all growing together and helping each other out. So are there any more questions too? I didn't mean to keep talking here.
Yeah, so I see Lucy, you have your hand up. Yeah, go ahead, Lucy.
Just wanted to do a share because I did a remote session with Marika, which it was great. And shortly after that, I reconnected with my friend Alice in Vermont, who happens to have the Coherence mat and the machine as well. And Ross, I believe you've been talking to her.
Yeah. She has the core harmonizer and the Cohere meditation mat. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was kind of crazy that it kind of brought us back together again.
Wow.
Awesome.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
was pretty magical. Yeah. So
Yeah.
Thank you.
she's amazing too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
All right.
Thank you, Lucy. Any other
Thanks for
questions?
letting us know that. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Any other comments, questions? What's been stimulated? Anybody else who's had an experience with the light field that would like to share? So we're almost at the end of our time. We have about 10 minutes left. Marika and Ross, are there any closing comments any final points you want to highlight further, amplify as we begin to?
Yeah, I would say if you want to get in touch with us, you can go to our website. It's www.lightfieldfoundation.com. And we are big on events over here too. So we want you to know that we have events. We have in-person potlucks once a month. We used to just do them from, during the warm months from April to November. But this year we're going to expand out and we're going to do them every month. And so we're going to go to a person's house for the other ones. But mainly we do them in the warm months. We do them at Fairly Well Wholeness Center, which is 37 acres of open space. And they have a lodge over there. So we do a potluck and we sit and chat for 4 hours. You can bring any kind of questions you want or things you want to explore or discover or have questions about in your life. And it's a wonderful experience. And we have 2 types of Zooms that we do right now. And we're looking at a 3rd one right now. So we have meditation Mondays on the 1st and 3rd Mondays every month. And so that's when we can send out, all of the wonderful feelings to individuals that we know, but we can also send it out to the world. And for whatever is going on, we can send that peaceful energy out into the world. And it makes such a big difference when we're doing group meditations that they've done studies sometimes where they can see that, crime rates go down and that people are more harmonious with each other. And so we feel like that's really important. So we do 2 of those every month. And then on the 2nd and the fourth Mondays right now. We're going through Mark Newkirk, some of his older videos that he did around and lecture series around 2018, some of which, you know, he talked about, he would come up to the holistic health community up there and talk about it. And you have some of those on your website over there at Cornelia can show you where they're at. They're under videos and recordings, I think. And then we have audios and videos on ours as well. And the third kind of a Zoom that we're considering, as we were talking to people online last week and asking, someone, myself and two other people are interested in extraterrestrial connections. And we were looking at how Mark was, you know, seeing a lot of things, and that a lot of things that he was seeing were precursors to what, you know, we're looking at as disclosure of those extraterrestrial, extra dimensional beings being here on Earth. So on the last Monday of this month, which will be the 29th, from 7 to 8 p.m., we're going to have a Zoom discussion about that, and you're welcome to join in. And the easiest way to join in is sign up for our newsletter. You can do that on our homepage, and you scroll down to the bottom left-hand corner, and there's a sign up for that. Or if you want to, send your email to me and your name, and I'll put you on the newsletter list. My email at Lightfield is info@lightfieldfoundation.com. So those are two of the ways that you can connect to us if you'd like to get our newsletter. We have a main one that comes out once a month, but we do reminders when we have potlucks and Zooms and the Zoom invitations and all that. So, but it's a beautiful place. We love community. We love connecting with people. We think that everybody needs that. And these days, you know, a lot of us have felt isolated, that we don't have somebody to talk to, and it's important. And I know that's why your center is so popular up there, and you have lots more people interested in it, but we're here too if you would like to connect into any of our community things. Yeah. Ross, did you want to add anything else?
Ross, would you talk about where you're going to be this weekend and how people might connect at this expo?
Yeah, that's a good
Sure,
idea.
yeah. We would love to see you. We're going to be in Marlborough, Massachusetts. I think there's going to be 5 of us there. And we're going to be there Saturday and Sunday at Natural Awakening. The expo.
Natural living.
Natural Living. Natural Awakening is the magazine, sorry.
Yeah.
Natural Living Expo in Marlborough, Massachusetts this Saturday and Sunday. And we'll be pretty close to the center, slightly off center to the left of the expo. We'll have two booths there, and we'll have, like I said, the quantum flow, the core harmonizer, and the mat, all available to try. And we'll be doing sessions there, and there will be 5 of us to talk to and ask any questions. We'd love to, meet and connect, and we'll have some Lightfield brochures there as well, and should be a wonderful time. So that should be fun. So
they also are going to have a lot of speakers there. I think there's over 50 speakers that you can listen to, and all different kinds of booths with different things, and great healthy food to eat, all kinds of stuff there. So yeah, I think it's Natural Living. No, it's just naturalexpo.org, I believe. Yeah.
It's the biggest expo actually on the whole East Coast. So it's there's this year they're expecting 6,000 people, and we're booth 605 and 607 right next to each other. 605 and 607.
Yeah.
So please definitely look us up, and also we'd love to have you come to the Lightfield, as Marika said, and it's just such a warm place there. We have amazing operators, volunteer operators that are just so sweet and gentle and caring, and
knowledgeable too.
Yes, and knowledgeable. Yes.
Yeah. And if you go to the expo, you'll get to meet Ross and Heather, his wife, who you can see her on where it says My Mac by her. There she's waving. And Ingrid, one of our other operators, will be there. And I guess you have probably Jesse and.
Jesse's not going to come, but Ingrid and a couple other friends. So yeah, it should be a great time. Definitely.
Yeah.
One other question for you, Marika. If anyone is moved to become an operator at the Lightfield, is that a possibility?
Yeah, usually we suggest that people have at least have gone through 10 sessions, and that we always wait till they volunteer to do it, because otherwise, if we ask people to be volunteers and they're not really into it, they don't. So we always let people ask us if they would like to be operators, but it's a 2-day training that you have to come to. One day is all learning about Lightfield and the principles behind it. And then the second day is learning to do kind of mini sessions. And then there's a third day that's required that you be on a shift with a seasoned operator and make sure that you know how to do full sessions and answer questions. So it's a kind of a little bit of a commitment, but everybody that is an operator, for every shift that they do, they always have a trade with another operator. So you put 3 people through, and then you have a trade, one for yourself and one for the other operator. So it's about, I think it's 5 3/4 hour shift, when you're here. So, but lots of benefits from, having the sessions.
Just by being in the environment too, as an operator, you're getting a lot out of, just being in the Lightfield environment too. So people,
Oh, I would say that too. I have the most, I call it helm time than anyone. And I love it. I love being here and being an operator. It's exquisite to be sitting in those fields of energy, all day long. I used to do 60, 80-hour weeks sometimes. So yeah, it's really good. It really opens you up in a way you can't even explain.
Mhm.
Mm.
Well, thank you so much, Marika and Ross, for being with us and for bringing this incredible work into the world. It's been a pleasure to have you with us.
Well, and thank you guys, and thank you for all the good work that you're doing in the world up there. It's like, oh my gosh, it's just amazing what you guys are doing. This is like, keep going. Yeah, we just applaud everything that you're doing. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
This program is recorded, so if you have any friends or family members who haven't had a chance to participate tonight, in a few days it will be on the Holistic Health Community website, and probably if you both want it could be on the Lightfield and
That would be great.
any of both of your websites and stuff.
Yeah, okay, great.
And Mark Newkirk, my father, we just uploaded about 4 hours of his lectures, as well. They can be found on right now on our Facebook page, Friend of Lightfield's, which you can join that group, or the other one is Core Harmonizer on Facebook, or you can view the videos at ConsciousTechnologiesLLC.com. Under the resource section at the top. There's 4 good ones we just uploaded. They've never been online before. So those are good ones to watch.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much. Have a
Thank you all
beautiful
for today.
and blessed evening, everyone.
It was great to be in your presence.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Take good care.
All right,
All right.
thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.